What's good, everybody? This is Y and Z, a conversation between the generations. I represent the Y in this equation, possibly one of the best generations that they call millennials. Jay Clark is the name.
Here we go, y'all. Here
My,
we go.
my comrade over here represents a generation. They are a generation.
The generation. Thank you.
I don't know about that, sir. Xavier Lewis representing Gen Z. How are you this week, my brother?
Man, we're doing amazing. We're doing amazing. It is a great week to be alive, amongst other things, hopefully, for all individuals included. A lot of things going on in the world, but positive faces, positive smiles, trying to kill the world with kindness.
Yeah, it's a mess
Kill the
out in
world
these
with them.
streets. We're going to have some fun. Thank you for joining us for a little escape, like, share, subscribe. YZ The Divide, J Clark 787, Xavier D. Lewis. That's what it is now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, just Xavier D. Lewis, bro. I'm sick of it.
Yeah,
I
he's
won't
sick
even
of it.
talk about it. If you know, you know.
Check out a
But
couple episodes back for that story.
yeah.
Anywho, we're gonna get into some mess today because that young brother.
Let me just say this. I said this to Clark, and he was like, no, just no, just no. And I was like, oh, but yes. Oh, but yes. Robert Kelly,
A man's
affectionately
name who I
known as.
tried, we tried not to bring up that man's name and presence here on
We
this
try not
podcast.
to. But this man, regardless of where he is trying to keep up with modern trends, main day streaming things. This man has released his Residuals remix challenge
Okay.
from jail.
Before we even get to the actual song itself, number one, the man is in jail. Two, this challenge was over weeks ago when Mario dropped his rendition and everybody was like, yup, it's a wrap.
That's it. But I'm obviously I wasn't hip to what's really going on in prison either. I wasn't hip to it because I'm scrolling on TikTok the other day and I see a group of about 4 inmates on TikTok live. And the people in the comments are saying some pretty raunchy things to these inmates.
Wait. What kind of people?
He
They hollering at the inmates. Being ticked.
talking about up in the comments talking about they say shoot or shoot. What?
That's why you in jail.
Man, I said I don't really understand. I don't know. Like I have no idea. Maybe we need to try to find us a jailer to come on to the podcast and talk with us about what in the world is going on in these prisons.
The less I got to deal with prisons, the better. I have remained outside that pipeline. And I have no desire to be like, get close.
What's going on in there?
Just to be like, what's going on in there? Because next thing you know, especially with that Cheeto in chief in office, I'm like, oh yeah, put him in there too. Go ahead.
Just throw him in there. So curious. It'll be a good learning experience.
Anywho, let's talk about this actual track itself. And if there was any doubt that Robert recorded this from prison, it literally opens up. This is a call from a federal prison. He literally recorded it over the phone.
If there was any doubt if this was R. Kelly, I think that was just the seal.
Right.
He started it off with what you receive when you receive a call from an inmate.
Because at first I was like, no way. There's no way. Somebody done AI this. Somebody done chat GPT generative something. Nope. This is a call from a federal prison.
Federal prison. Let me see here. He then goes on to say, this is the call from Robert Kelly.
Robert.
Right?
Now,
Monitor all the times. I got 2 minutes. Let's go.
apparently Robert's got questions and so do I.
We all have questions. Number one, this is the first.
Yeah, let's go through
This is the first piece of just interesting out of the lyrics. I mean, I'll say there's like nothing too daunting about the lyrics. You know, it's about him, you know, being in jail, all that kind of stuff. This is what I get. This man still believes he's innocent and should not be.
Before we get there, let's go through the song because after looking at the lyrics, and unfortunately I had to listen to that piece of garbage 2 or 3 more times just to get this up. The man starts off, first, I want to thank my fans for being the realist. Now let's get down to business on this breezy remix. I had to make this phone call just to let you know you ain't shit. Now, there are very few things I would probably agree with Robert Kelly in this day and age. But this point here, yeah, if you still calling yourself a fan of Robert Kelly, you ain't shit. Man, Robert, I'm with you there.
He called him out. He
I'm with you
called him
there.
out.
I, I'm with you there. Okay, we so I'm surprised that you that blunt. Oh yeah, calling his fans ain't ish because like I got questions on my mind. It's questions on my mind. They still selling my music, making all this money. Yeah, because some of these fans who ain't shit still listening to this stuff. Don't even send shit to my books for commissary. No, we'll get to that in a little bit. Um, then we get to
No,
the
I'm
part that then we
in
get to the
this
part that you
place.
that yeah that pick that really stuck out for you,
I know I don't deserve this.
sir, sir,
What?
sir,
Robert.
sir. It's questions on my mind.
Robert.
It's questions on my mind. Did I build you up when I wrote you all those hits? How you not gonna show me love, and I'm not talking about no chick. Um,
I mean, don't get me wrong. No one is saying that his career isn't his career. I think there might be a little bit of that. Well, I mean, the whole thing
no, no,
is mental illness seeping out.
there were answers to the questions that he is asking. Let's keep going. The answers will present themselves.
And Will, he
Tell me
said, "Tell
who
me who?
who's
Who's getting
getting
all
all my
my
checks?
checks?
Where's my money at?
Where's my money at?
It is going to the
To
victim
the
of
victims."
your abuse. There was a court case about it, sir. Like that's no secret.
He didn't understand any of that court case. He's just like, I'm trying to make music.
Like pretty blunt there. The victims of all the abuse who you
Said
proclaim you wrote all those hits, which were literally were the majority of those, especially those early ones, stories about the abuse that you picked your victims through, or the inspiration for those songs came from the abuse that you put your victims through. Sir, have several more seats. That jail
I'm telling
clearly is
you
not deep enough
that
for you.
I've never seen it before, but I see it on this track. Well, I mean, we have seen it before, but the mental illness seeping through on this track is ridiculous. It's
Tell
just
me
like
who.
Kelly, Tails,
Who
come
gets to
on.
my grind? All that is supposed to be mine. It was yours until they took it because of what you did. Who gave you
Who
30?
gave you 34 years? Who made you billions of dollars?
Who put the R in R&B? Swear that it's killing me in myself. Well, sir, let it happen. If it's happening, let it go ahead. Making me holler, damn it. Who? Tell me who's getting all my residuals? Who? I just need to know. Tell me who. And then they just called wreck. I gotta go.
They just called Rick. I gotta go. Was hilarious. It's just interesting. I think. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna be honest. I think if Robert Kelly were to put on a concert from jail, there will be millions of people that'll purchase it just to hear where his mind has been at. How many years has it been now?
I don't know if there'd be millions who purchase. If this was a free stream, yeah, you
Oh
might get
yeah,
millions to tune in just to see what the fuck is this. But I'm sure there would certainly be some who would purchase because as he pointed out, somebody buying and streaming this music.
but he ain't seeing none of them.
Because he ain't seeing the money because it's going to the victims, which he don't know why he in jail.
And this is my thing too. Other people are like, "Oh, we thought Mario topped it. This is the topper." What do you feel about that?
This is the topper for the wrong reasons. Mario is the topper for the proper reason of the challenge.
Correct.
This some hootenanny right here.
This is just wild to think. I mean, just what was this? 2 days ago. 2 days ago.
The fact that you somehow behind bars have heard this song, are aware enough of the challenge, which again, what you brought up earlier, and then somehow, because this couldn't have been long in the works, somehow you were able to record your verse over the phone in line with the beat, unless
And not just that,
post
there
production.
are harmonies,
Yeah, yeah,
layers.
you
I
took your
mean,
time.
this is a produced 2 minute piece of work.
Yeah, it's we don't need to bring up this man again on the podcast. So we before we yeah, it's Y and Z conversation between generations. Keep talking about this guy, R. Kelly, Robert Kelly, sitting in jail and just needs to get comfortable. For the record, asked a question on social media the other day, and I think it aligns with this. Asking what's the best decade for R&B, and they gave you five options. And I'm
Mm,
curious what some of your thoughts may be.
okay.
The options being 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. So since we're talking about one of the reasons that made the 90s what it is, which has been assessed, that's just whatever. I'm curious, in your eyes, what is the best decade as a whole for R&B?
I think the 2010s get automatically disqualified. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
I was about to say, based on the words that was about to come out your mouth, I was going to reach through this screen and smack you myself. But
Let me hold up. Let me refresh
you did it.
myself right
You
quick.
did it right. Okay, cool. So you've
Let me
automatically
refresh
disqualified
myself.
the 2010s, which is your generation. But we have proven again and again you are one of the better enlightened Gen Z members out there. So okay,
Right.
let's see in your
I'm gonna
education.
be honest. I'm gonna be honest. Because I'm trying to do this elimination style. I think one that is artist just I can't touch it yet is the 90s. I think I'm gonna just set it right there. I gotta set it there.
Uh-huh.
The real question now becomes the 70s, the 80s, or the 2000s. And I know people might be questioning me about why am I still considering the 2000s in there. The 2000s still had great R&B music,
So far.
very great R&B music.
I'm not asking you to rank though, sir. You got to pick one.
Let me see, just pick one. But I'm trying to. So I'm looking at what
One.
70s R&B was, what 80s. Oh Lord Jesus. Okay, I'm gonna pick 80s over 70s. Because 80s is love, TKO, sexual healing, before I let go. Don't get me wrong, the 70s are what's going on. Midnight Train to Georgia, Superstition, though ain't no sunshine. Like those are really good too. But I'm more of an 80s kind of guy when it comes to R&B. So I'm gonna pick 80s over the 2000s. But then the question becomes, does 80s top 90s? It doesn't.
This is an
If
easy
we're
answer.
just being
It is,
real,
it is the 90s.
it is the 90s
It is the
without
90s.
90 because I'm gonna tell you, and we've talked about this before, but 90s was just so transformative, but it still seemed familiar. I'm gonna tell you why I say that.
Good way of putting it.
The, the 90s was so transformative because the sound was transforming, but it still looked like what you thought it should look like. As far as like R&B was, you had boy bands, you had girl groups, you had still had those scenes that were still carrying over from the 70s and the 80s. You had boy bands in the 70s, you had boy bands in the 80s, but now the sound is changing a little bit. The
Cook,
culture is more urban. You see what
cook,
I'm saying? We
cook,
we in there. We in there.
cook. No, no. It's
So this is why 90s R&B what is and will I mean we've yet to see another era of a 10-year time span that just produces bangers after bangers after bangers. And we're not just talking about songs, we talk about albums.
so yeah. Primarily responses I've seen online, it's between 70s and 90s, and I'm more inclined just the 90s is a cheat code. I'm not mad if you're to say the 70s. The 70s is probably one of the purest eras there ever was for just basic, not necessarily basic, but just like the foundations of what we recognize as modern R&B really was built during the 70s. I'm not going to hate anybody if you call it the 70s. But the 90s, like I said, is a cheat code because everything you had in the 70s and the 80s, as you just so discussed, was present in the 90s. And what you have present in the 90s, there's two things that you have present in the 90s that you don't have in the 80s or the 70s, which are the two other main contenders. One, it's in the 90s, we get the start of hip hop and R&B fusions,
Yep.
collabs. So that's something you don't get in the others. And then two,
Nope.
commercially, nobody touched R&B in the 90s, and nobody has ever touched R&B in the 90s. And
Yeah.
so, wow, I can give the 90s a couple hits maybe musically and sonically for not being as pure, as soulful maybe or whatever as the 70s. Okay, cool. I'll deduct a couple points. Nobody is touching the points of performance and just how mainstream
No.
it was like the 90s. And so to me, that's what puts the 90s on top. Like, because nobody else is touching that. 90s was so mainstream with R&B that it's the other foundation for how we believe R&B is to be experienced in the world. It's just everywhere. And it's not anymore. And so yeah, for me, that's what it's over the top. Nobody's even coming close when you're talking about performance.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely agree. I mean, you wrapped it all together really nicely. So my question is, okay, 90s out of it. What would you say is
Is
the
up.
next decade up?
That's where it gets interesting because, as I said, a lot of people are picking 70s as the other one. I'm a little more inclined to lean 80s.
Me too. Me too. And like I
That
said,
80s
no
R&B
disrespect,
scene,
like no disrespect to the 70s, but the 80s, come on, man.
80s gave you
Fire and Desire, Tina Marie, Rick James.
Quiet Storm. Just
Oh,
built Quiet Storm Radio. That is the era of the slow jam.
yes,
So
yes.
yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one because yeah, I'd probably go 90s. Woo. See, unfortunately, by my own logic, 80s has to be fourth, but I don't want to. It's a, yeah. Once you get past number one for me, it's tight because somebody getting disrespected here. Because yes, 2010s is the bottom of the barrel, and while
Definitely
2000s we might not look at as sonically as good as some of the other ones, again, the commercial aspect was there as it
true,
hadn't been in
true.
other eras.
But I'll put it like this. I think the 2000s, as far as like R&B, is where you started to see R&B being modeled out for hip hop.
It starts, yeah, it starts. Yes, no, yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
takes
starts in
place
the
there.
2000s.
Okay, so yeah, 90s, 80s, 70s, 2000s, 2010s. There we go. What about you?
That exact list. That exact list. I'm not gonna hold you.
Yeah, yeah, that's
So I'm gonna be honest here. I mean, we know that music is not particularly great nowadays. What genre would you say ruled the 2010s?
hip hop.
Hip hop or pop? I would almost make an argument to say pop music did.
It's hip hop becomes is no secret the number one genre in the 2010s. That's yeah, hip hop explodes. At least in the commercial perform, in
True,
the
true.
mainstream aspect.
Yep.
Hip hop is now that beast. Um, Still not doing the silly. It's hit and miss sometimes depending on the year. It doesn't in a whole stream sense hit some of the same numbers that R&B did in the 90s, for example. But it's got close. Surpasses it in a couple ways. But yes, no, hip hop definitely has been. It is starting to, I think we now see fall off a tad. And I don't know if anything is taking its place necessarily. I think you're getting a lot more some international stuff starting to creep in, but there's no
Yeah.
set sound taking it all.
Right, right. So, and it's crazy to think that here we are halfway through the decade of the 20s, right? It's crazy to think that. And so far, here we are in the 2020s. What is becoming the overarching? I don't really even know. I'm gonna be honest. If I'm gonna analyze the last 5 years, I don't know what is just that
Afrobeat and international.
international sounds. Is what you're trying to go with there? It's like, I mean, that overarching sound
The,
of
the way we used to say like the
commercialization.
New Jack Swing era, like you're trying to put that kind of name to it, the crunk era, things of that nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely what you're saying is the influence now of other nations and other, I guess, in a sense, population centers, places that haven't been at the center of pushing the culture out, finding their own voices because of the internet and being able to be like, oh, okay, we have this thing, we can put our own, taking hip hop, for example, you have, the British version has their own distinct sound and taste flavor
Yeah.
for hip hop. Africa
Drill
has its
music.
own,
Yeah, yeah.
drill. Latin America has its own influences and how these things work.
K-pop.
So
K-pop has
yeah,
exploded over the
yeah.
last
So what
five,
you're
right?
finding is, I think some of these international pockets putting their own sonics into these things that we have done, and so it's kind of being reflected back to us a little bit. But yeah, there is no one concrete
Yeah,
thing right
I
now.
agree.
It's kind of an international thing, but yeah, that's I'm glad
I
I'm
agree. I agree.
the youth because I had classics growing up. I don't know about you.
Unfortunately, and it's so funny. I don't know if you saw that Abbott Elementary scene where he was the cold open that they did, where he was like, let's do some throwback songs, and they started naming songs that came out in the '90s and considering them throwbacks. And I'm like, or some of them were like 2000s,
Oh,
2010s.
two. I mean,
She said "Umbrella" by Rihanna, and I was like, "Umbrella" by Rihanna? That just came out the other day.
it used to be kind of like 20 years was that demarcation line. And so
Right? That's what I'm saying.
think
Because I'm
about it
looking
right
at some
now.
of
You're
these songs
talking
from the '80s.
2000, 2005 right now is kind of that demarcation line. So yes,
That's
Usher's
crazy.
Confessions.
That's crazy. It's because I'm looking at the '80s and I'm like, yeah, these are Sunday morning clean the house songs that we grew up on. Before I Let Go, Outstanding, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But now, I mean, if wow. So let's just say 2005 R&B songs.
Mhm.
Oh wow, We Belong Together, Mariah Carey. Oh Lord Jesus, Stay Fly, 3 6
Yeah. Thank you for helping to make me feel
Wow.
older right now.
Oh my
You
Lord.
can shut up at any time, Xavier.
Ordinary People by John Legend.
I don't like you right now, sir.
I'm I'm shocked because some Lonely by Akon. Because some of these songs are still in my rotation right
Oh
now.
no, for sure, for sure, for sure. Yeah, yeah. They getting you riding my whip. Some of these getting heavy play still.
I mean, oh
It's
wow, this
it's
is
the air.
crazy.
It's the air of the internet. These things have never had to die like they used to. So it is. It is. But you know who I wish would die? I'm not going to say that because that's not Christian. But apparently it is killing him as he's sitting there in prison. On that note, Y and Z conversation between the generations. Let us know, what
What?
do you think is the best decade for R&B, and give a reason why.
Yeah, let us know why. And then also just a little added on there. Let us know what do you now consider throwback songs, right? Let us know that.
Gen Z just thinks everything is ancient, so I don't know if we need to hear
Bro,
that.
this is funny. I'm sorry. This is so funny to me that these are now because like you said, it's that 20-year mark. Oh my Lord.
You are speaking
2005,
you are
20 years
speaking
ago.
about my high school senior year, sir. Shut up. It's Y and Z, a conversation between the generations. We're gonna get
We
out.
gonna go ahead and finish up so he can go rubbing a little Bengay and soak, get his midday soak in.
Watch out. I'm gonna come back with some just for men and this beard, this goatee. Take it back. Anyways, thank you for spending some time with us today. Like, share, subscribe. We'll be back next week for who knows what kind of craziness as we navigate this world and see how Gen Z is just trying to stay inside under a blanket with their heads in the sand.
Man, please. We out here thriving and surviving, spending money that we don't got and hoping it pays off in the end.
Just like the government. Anyways, until next time.
Peace.